But this focus on the arts would lead us to corner the market in a very different kind of global industry.
This is BBC Television. It's 1 o'clock.
In just a few minutes, a Boeing 707 is due to arrive from New York and carrying in it 4 remarkable young men from Liverpool. And this is the moment they've been waiting for. Paul McCartney leading them off, George Harrison on the left, John Lennon at the back, Ringo Starr.
On the 22nd of February 1964, the Beatles touched down at London Airport. They'd returned from America, a global sensation. For many, it marked the beginning of what would become known as the British invasion. We tend to think of the first British invasion of US popular culture as happening in 1964, when the Beatles cracked America. But the first people to crack America weren't Lennon and McCartney, but a pair of siblings from Ealing, West London, Dion and Mary O'Brien. And if you haven't heard of them, perhaps that's because they changed their names. Dion became Tom Springfield. And Mary, well, Mary was something else.
Well, the first song was a Zulu war tune with Tom on the bongo drum, Tim on guitar, and I'm Dusty.
Dusty Springfield started her musical career with her brother as the singer in a 3-piece folk band. What do you think I should? They called themselves the Springfields because it sounded American. And in 1962, their cover of Silver Threads and Golden Needles made them the first ever British group to enter the US Billboard charts. And then, the following year, they split up. Just a month after the Springfields split up, Dusty released her first solo single, I Only Want to Be With You, and it turned her into a huge star. The song reached number 4 in the British charts, but more important commercially, it reached number 12 in the US Billboard Hot 100. Dusty Springfield now sat alongside the Beatles in spearheading the British invasion. British pop music and British fashion were now our latest export.
Baby, I feel good from the moment I rise.
In the mid-60s, just as our heavy industries and manufacturing bases were beginning to struggle, British culture was taking off. From the Beatles to Bieber, the Mini to the mini skirt, British music, fashion and design began to generate vast sums of money for the British Exchequer. The success of that first invasion partly depended on the exploitation of a very self-conscious sense of Britishness. So, for instance, the Beatles' suits were made in Savile Row, and the Kinks sung about life in London and English nostalgia. Dusty Springfield was very different. She absorbed, almost inhaled, the sounds and the spirit of black American Motown music, and then reproduced it with an uncanny, eerie fidelity, which meant that people listening on the radio, for instance, could scarcely believe these songs were being sung by a white girl from Ealing.
I just don't know what to do with myself.
2 years after launching her solo career, Dusty would take to this stage at the London Palladium to play for the Queen at the Royal Variety Performance. More assured, more confident, and a much, much bigger star.
I just don't know to do with
Soon after that, she went to America.
It's now my pleasure to present the talented English girl who's been turning out, oh, I'd say one hit after another, and has become one of America's top singing stars. Ladies and gentlemen, the exciting Miss Dusty Springfield.
She'd go on to release a string of hits that would confirm her as a bankable star on both sides of the Atlantic. From You Don't Have to Say You Love Me to Son of a Preacher Man.
Billy Ray was a preacher's son, and when his daddy would visit, he called along. When they gathered around-
British culture was an increasingly valuable export. Within 50 years, the creative industries would be worth £100 billion to the UK economy.
My surprise, the only one who could ever reach me was the son of a preacher.
And this was an important shift because by the late 1960s, some of our older industries were fading fast. Glasgow, the River Clyde.
You don't know what's going on.
For more than 100 years, this was the world's centre of shipbuilding. The term Clyde built had been a stamp of excellence for generations.
May God bless her and all who sail in her.
These yards launched ships like the Queen Mary, the Queen Elizabeth and the QE2.